Welcome back to Check In with Chris Brown. Got my brother, Mr. Martin Bone, the magician, the wizard, the formerly known as the Scouse guru, but I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah.
Because he's just a guru.
Thank you.
Full stop.
What's happening, Chris?
Good, man. That coffee's really hot. So I'll put that back there for a second.
I've got mouth like asbestos, me. I can drink it.
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, you know. Like, in fact, I'm better than good. I feel marvellous. I've had a fantastic summer. I created the space. I actually scheduled in some space to rest and regenerate and rediscover and redefine some stuff. And in the process, just having a lot of time in nature, a lot of time with my family, my missus and my child. And you know, I mean, the sun was shining a lot, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So that certainly helped. I felt like I got a lot of vitamin D, you know what I mean? I'm a sun worshipper, like I love it. So I had a few really nice trips. I got down to Brighton with Ange for 5 days, and that was a bit of a game changer, you know what I mean? I felt like I was on holiday. So that was awesome. And then I've had a couple of weddings and a couple of stags. I've seen some old friends and just a real celebration, you know, and the last few weeks just preparing to sort of get back on the gravy train as such, and I've jumped back on it, and it's already going at like 100 miles an hour, but that's where I want to be, you know. So I feel really productive. I feel sharp, you know, and there's a lot of things that are unfolding for me with my work. In so many areas, and I'm about to release a new platform as well, something I've been working on for quite some time. So a lot going on, and within that, it creates a lot of emotional satisfaction. So I feel absolutely on purpose, feel sharp, come off the bread. I've sorted having a lot of boundaries with the coffee, eating really well at the minute, and I'm training hard. So, you know, all that is definitely adds to this feeling that I'm experiencing at the moment, you know. So
love it.
Yeah,
love that. I had a little trip down Brighton with the kids as well myself. Yeah, loved it.
It's great down there.
Yeah,
it was just something else for me.
Yeah,
it's very liberating. You know what I mean? There's something about there was just a vibe that I'm not sure I've experienced in the UK. You know. Myself, not that I travel around the UK that much, like, but from city to city, checking the vibe out. But it was just that. It was a vibe, you know, from people from like, you know, 15 years old to like 80. Mm-hmm. There was just something about it, you know what I mean? And then it was dead quirky. You know, there was an openness. And it felt liberated. And it was on the sea as well, you know what I mean?
It's a liberating place though, isn't it? You know, it's been very... Well, I don't even know how to say
the gay capital cultures, you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. It's been very accepting, welcoming. Yeah. It's been...
So, you know, people can just like be themselves.
A liberated place,
be their weird, quirky self. And so I just fitted right in, do you know what I mean? I had anything, you know, about being weird and being liberating and being open and quirky. And yeah, and so I loved it. I loved it. It was the first time I actually thought I could live here. Mm. You know what I mean? The thought of living somewhere else apart from Liverpool. I mean, I've got a great life here, and I've really created a wonderful culture here for myself and for others. But there was just like something about it where I thought, oh wow, yeah, this has got like some magic here, and I felt right at home.
Well, that's, I think the one thing that I admire you from a business standpoint, aside from the culture that you've built, is the way in which you construct your time. So my business is structured very differently. It's something that I'm consciously aware of and moving towards. Like mine's just a never-ending cycle.
Yeah,
it's difficult to take a week or two off.
Yeah,
never mind take a whole summer off. And I admire the fact that you've carved out that time.
Yeah.
And you lived that summer summer.
Yeah, yeah. I was eating all kinds, you know, cheeseburgers, and I love a beer and, you know, a few ciggies, and yeah, man. And I was just like really enjoying it, you know.
But then you're like,
straight back on, boom, locked in. It's because I've scheduled it, Chris. You know, I schedule my time well. I actually believe if we schedule our priorities, and we create space for this stuff and we manage our time well, we can become incredibly productive and less polarized. So I feel the fact that I've scheduled me working and I schedule me playing and I schedule time to be spontaneous. Like I don't wait to be spontaneous, I actually schedule it in to be spontaneous. And I think that's like, it can be a golden nugget, you know what I mean? Instead of it being like, you know, I'm all in and then I'm being spontaneous. It's like actually I schedule that time. And it very much, you know, I found a sweet spot with my life. It took a bit of careful planning, but I'm also going with almost a collective energy. You know what I mean? In the summertime, most people, you know, collectively just want to go on holiday, you know, sort of down tools, relax, and they spend money elsewhere as well. So, you know, when people are coming in my direction, you know, with regards to self-care and self-development and all matters related to, you know, the human experience, in the summertime, people aren't bothered about that. You know what I mean? They want to just like, it's family time, the kids are off school. So it's just like, right, you know what? I'm going to take this time. And I had a lovely sort of 5 or 6 weeks off. And then, you know, I think we naturally, whether you've got children or you don't have children, come September when the kids go back to school, there's almost a natural order.
Yeah, it's like a new year.
It's like a new year.
Yeah.
Things just fit in. And then people are rubbing their hands then because they want to get they want to get the feet back into the ground and they want to get steadfast with some endeavouring. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, you sort of, you feel a little bit, you know, it's the run up to Christmas, you know what I mean, as such. And if September does feel like January sometimes, where you're like, right, okay, let's have a go now for a few months and then we can relax over Christmas. And I've done the same over Christmas.
It's a nice little sprint this September to December because I think those 3 months you've got like real focus and you're kind of bookended by August and December.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being kind of chaotic and,
that's right.
and unstructured and different and events and things like that. And I think, like you say, I actually tell my clients who work with gym owners primarily and coaches that like August is like a beautiful time. If you're really aware of it, you can really slow down.
Absolutely.
But not really get behind.
Yeah.
Because that's the fear of the entrepreneurs, that if they slow down, then shit will stop. But
absolutely.
Like you said, there's a natural order of the world that you can fall into. And I think there's 2 times a year, like August and December, that would happen.
I've done the same. December, I'm off.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm right back on it. September, October, November, and like first week of December, I'm just wrapping everything up. I'll have a couple of Christmas parties. I'll celebrate with the people I love. You know, and we'll have some fun. We'll get on the karaoke, you know, we'll eat some good food.
That's it.
And then I'm probably planning on going abroad with my family. Nice. You know, maybe catching a week just before Christmas, coming back, Christmas time. And then we do it all again January.
Back in it.
And next year's planned for me. You know, I've pretty much planned the year, You know, first few months of the year, I've got a level 4, and that's like a 3-month program, and that seems to fit well for all the other things that, you know, that I'm putting in with the stuff I'm teaching and sharing. And then on the 1st of April, I'm going to Peru. You know, I'm in Peru for a king retreat. Which is going to be
Craig mentioned it the other day as well.
Big journey.
It was hard for me to say no to
say
that.
no. It's going to be an incredible journey. It's something I'm really looking forward to. I'm you know, a lot of values have changed for me, and my values nowadays is service to others, but travel. You know what I mean? And I love my work, but I want to travel with my work now, and things are certainly opening up for me. So to go to Peru for 10 days with 20 men and 5 facilitators, that's like, you know, I've got to pinch myself sometimes, you know, but I deserve this as well. I've worked hard.
Absolutely.
And I'm really looking forward to that journey, but I'm going to stay in Peru for another 2 weeks after it. So I'm in Peru for a month and I'm going to do some medicine. I feel like the right time to really,
lean into it.
Dive deep. I'm over there. I've got some friends who live over there. I've got some people who know some very wonderful people over there. So I'm going to, that's all been scheduled. And by the time I get back in May, you know, I've got men without masks. It's my birthday. And then probably leaning into June, I've potentially planned 3 months off next year.
Nice.
June, July, August. And then hit it again September, October, November. And then bang when it, you know, into Christmas next year, 2023. So
self-constructed life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels really connected to my soul as well. You know what I mean? It feels right. And yeah, it's definitely constructed by me. This is an inside job, you know. And I'm influenced by my own values, and I disciple that life and I show up and I just have fun in the process. So it just becomes effortless. And the more I do it, the more refined it becomes. I'm almost like working less, you know what I mean? but I create more space to create then. And I'm in a place of creation at the minute. I'm creating new things and manifesting new things, and things are just also naturally moving and manifesting in front of me, which is just all the magic of when for me, just, you know, you're showing up being yourself.
Well, that's been a big insight for me recently. Is I was constantly in a position of doing all of the time, and it'd be hard for me to take any time at all.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid, taking a midweek day off. Like, but that's the construct that we're conditioned to believe.
The working week.
Absolutely. And so more recently, I've been in a place of being, and since the Joe Dispenza retreat, meditating an hour a day.
Yeah.
And we can create without doing.
Absolutely.
And this is what people forget. They think that the material against the material is the thing that actually helps them create. And ultimately, the more space that you create for yourself, the more you can actually begin to listen to yourself and think, and intuitively, it's like it seeks you out. It's like you seeking something. Like the impulse builds, and you're like, that's what I need to do. That's where I need to go. That's how I need to structure that.
That's right.
Instead of trying to, you know, if you were running workshops all of the time, back to back, you wouldn't have that space to create.
Yeah, I like the term being in action. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Or grace in action. Mm-hmm. You know, so obviously there's a sense of that we do things in the world, and that sense of doing is action. And a lot of the time people are doing things and they don't really know why they're doing things. You know, the intentionality or the motivations behind what we do is something to unpick in our lives. You know what I mean? You know, why do you do what you do, and who do you do it for? And who benefits from it? And these are big questions to consider.
And where is it fueled from?
Absolutely. You know, and sometimes it's fueled from a wound, and that's okay as well. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's fueled from a gap in your life that needs filling, but that definitely creates drive as well.
Absolutely.
It gets shit done. But I think if we can come back to that state of being, and you know, we're human beings, and rest in that beingness, and ground in that nature, and access that naturalness. You know, you also access a neutrality. I like to say positively neutral. And from that place, you know, there's your action then, it isn't just spontaneous, but it's also been scheduled, you know, and it's only scheduled if you truly know from a healthy egoic identity, what is it that you want to do in the world, and how you want to, you know, and there's that doingness, do you know what I mean? So there's almost a formula to a lot of this kind of stuff. You know, I think a lot of people are just doing stuff, and they don't know why, or they're living somebody else's life, and we don't really have this capacity to come back to our nature and just be, you know, be ourselves, and then create a culture, create your own enterprise, and disciple your own life.
Well, it's hard sometimes to let go of what you have in order to allow in what might be, and I think for a lot of people to stop and to slow down is a scary thought, because it's taken them a lot of energy to get that momentum going. Yeah,
or they get attached to a life they've built, but also, you know, people are afraid of uncertainty, so they're afraid to maybe let go.
Absolutely.
So this fear of letting go, when you're not letting things go, you're actually not letting things move. And when you're not letting things move, you're not letting things in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And life's in a constant flux of change. And, you know, I think a lot of people just get in their own way because they get attached to what they know, and they're afraid of what they don't know yet.
Well, they've got to understand that everything is moving around them anyway. So the more that they cling on to the thing, everything's rotating around that.
Well, a lot of people just hold on, and because, you know, they want comfort, or they like, you know, life to be a certain way. And then when life's not going the way they've sort of planned it or projected, then this is where resistance comes in, and then they see life in the way, and that's a projection that you're in your own way. And life's not in the way, life's just happening. You know what I mean? And when we can actually start to really see that life's just happening, when we get up every morning, there's not one problem on the planet, and the problems are made, you know, through our own projected personality and ideas and constructs, you know. So it's when we really take a look at our stuff, and this is, you know, the stuff I know you've been doing with Dispenza, and like noticing the unnoticed, you know what I mean? Like taking a look at these limited beliefs, how we grab yesterday's identity and we put it onto today. And it's, you know, we say the same shit, different day. And then awareness, you know, certainly from my experience, lived experience, and my own, teachings is when we're checking in, when we're aware, we're tuned back in, and then we have an opportunity to respond to life. We have an opportunity to become somebody new. We have an opportunity to try something new, and adventure into something and manifest something and create something else. So this is available to us all. I think a lot of people don't even people are so sort of tuned out that there's no sensitivity to awareness where to look at your own culture. And two, people don't want to look at their own life. You know what I mean?
They're like,
yeah, because they're like,
what's under there?
Leave that alone. I'll just play small. I'll just fit in. And mediocrity for me, it comfort. I think comfort's okay. But, we've got to stretch ourselves, you know what I mean? We've got to move beyond our comforts because it just breeds laziness. It breeds inertia. It breeds a lack of patience and a lack of longing and connection.
It's just like loose, isn't it? Yeah, I think you need like tension.
Yeah.
I say this with clients a lot. If you have a balloon, it's useless, empty. It's floppy and no one needs floppy and limp in their life. And if you blow too much air into it, it explodes.
Yeah.
So a balloon operates in perfect tension.
Yeah.
Just enough air to make it a structure. And I think elastic bands are the same.
Yeah.
Stretch it too far, it snaps.
Yeah.
No tension. It's
lovely analogy.
And you hold
finding
that
space, you know what I mean? There's a sweet spot there where you're almost just like, you're showing up and you're going beyond your comforts, but you're also achieving and getting results. I think sometimes people put the standards or expectations too high.
Absolutely.
And when they don't reach them, maybe from an all or nothing attitude, or the fantasizing about something, you sort of demasculate yourself. So I like the smaller wins where you're sort of stretching, outside your comfort zone, but you're achieving, and that naturally empowers, builds confidence, builds natural leadership within yourself, and then it's a feedback loop then to be like, wow, okay, I've achieved. Oh, and then you're naturally sort of in that stretching zone, naturally, you know what I mean? Where you sort of thrive in that space as well. So the growth is organic rather than striving to be better. Yeah, forced. You're not forcing it. You're just showing up, stretching. For many years, Chris, I think unconsciously in my own life, I've probably been in flow. You know what I mean? I've always sort of done the things that I love and want, and I've always been my own boss. Always managed my own life. And I think that was sort of modelled to me by my father. He was, he's always been his own boss, you know what I mean? So, and to be self-employed and almost, within that, maybe a little bit entrepreneurial and a bit daring and risky. And then I think probably around 2015, 16, 17, having really been in the thick of a lot of personal growth for many years, started to make some conscious decisions and set boundaries. Like I didn't even know what boundaries meant, like many years ago, you know what I mean?
18 months ago, boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. It wasn't even in like the collective, you know what I mean? It's like, just seems to be all over socials now. It's a buzzword about set your boundaries. And I think I've, been sort of studying the high achievers as well for many years, and being in and around a lot of sort of leadership circles. And so I think when the light started to shine upon a lot of this work around the human condition, I started to lean into it more and more and more, and then apply these concepts in my own life. So I sort of become my own guinea pig as such. And then for many years, just finding a groove, finding a sweet spot, but using universal concepts that a lot of the sort of modern day gurus, the likes of Tony Robbins, the likes of Bob Proctor, the likes of Dr. D. Martini, Dr. Joe Dispenza, you know what I mean? Like they're all very much saying the same thing in their own unique flavour.
Absolutely.
So I thought there's something universal here. And obviously I like the map of the archetypes, it's doing a lot of work with Craig White and holding space for a lot of men's retreats. And then maybe understanding that underneath them archetypes, and which is connected to Jungian psychology, there's almost a universal platform.
Absolutely.
And for me, that universal platform was leadership, was connection, was transformation, and purposeful right action. And And obviously there's a lot more in there, but they sort of, for me, are connected to them 4 pillars, you know, being, doing, thinking and feeling. And so I started to really work out almost on my own this sort of puzzle, you know what I mean? And then it became almost a formula. And this formula works for everybody, no matter where you are in your life. Mm-hmm. If you apply this formula, it's universal. And I'm seeing it firsthand with this information that I'm sharing with others, especially in the level 4 intake, you know, which is a group mentorship program. It's a 3-month journey, and people are coming, and then I'm sharing this information over a 12-week period, and we have a lot of direct experience, a lot of lived experience, you know, and there's a lot of education around all these matters related, and then people can then apply them. But we do it over a period of time because there's a lot of information in there, you know what I mean? You know, I know you've done the level 4 yourself, and, you know, so it has to be applied over a period of time so people can go digest it. They can, and then, you know, they can transfer it into their own lives. And this isn't just a 3-month journey.
And that takes time.
It takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. You know, you can't just do a 360 with your life. You know, these things.
It's almost like it creates, like, you put your life in a blender. I remember, like, level 4, like coming out of level 4.
Yeah.
It's like everything just goes into a blender, gets blitzed up, and then it's only 6 weeks ago things starts
clicking.
Place. Yeah.
Starts clicking.
We finished maybe 6 months ago.
Well, I had a friend text me today, and she was just like, I am flying. Yeah. I'm at the sweet spot, and I know she's been at it for a few years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I know she's sort of been in a place of flow, but you almost get to this position then where you're like, boom, there's the sweet spot. And then it's about just sustaining the sweet spot. And then even that sweet spot changes over a period of time, do you know what I mean? So it is always important that we do reflect upon the life that we're living. And we just sort of, I like to use the analogy of just keep the, you know, tightening the screws, you know, always asking open-ended questions, contemplating, am I in flow? You know, does it feel effortless? Am I having fun? Am I sharing myself? Am I expressing my uniqueness? You know, am I getting paid? Am I honouring my own self-worth? All that kind of stuff. Are my boundaries clear? Am I delegating to the right people? Am I in flow? You know, am I on purpose? And these are massive questions that when we actually ask of ourselves and be honest with ourselves, we end up just creating a life of a purpose-driven life, internally and externally. And this is the formula. This is the formula. And unfortunately, a lot of people are either afraid of taking a look at the life, or they don't feel like they're worthy enough of a life of excellence. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people's default nowadays is scarcity, is mediocrity, is average.
It's,
you know,
self-exclusion. That's not for me.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's comfort. You know what I mean? It's not for me, this. You know, I'm happy, you know, and underneath that, they might be happy, you know, and good on you. People might just be happy in that comfort space, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But I think, I know for me, I want to know I've showed up. You know what I mean? I never want to look back on my life and go, you know what, I played small, or I just fitted in, or I wore a mask, or I lived other people's expectations of me, and all this kind of stuff. I want to know I've celebrated life. Absolutely. I want to know I've done my best. I want to know I've showed up. I want to know I was daring and risky, and I went beyond my comforts. You know, I want to know that I've loved well. You know what I mean? And I never want to look back and go, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Your kids' stories that they tell about you, that's what inspires me.
That's it. You know. And so not that I want to say we only get one shot, because I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we get many shots at this. But here and now, in present moments, I want to know that I'm tuned into now, and I want to know I'm being myself, because I actually don't know when I'm going to go. None of us know. It's a big question to consider for people. You know, I know it triggers people. It might trigger people listening. If you knew the day you were going to die, how would you behave? Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, because it's like, well, what are we waiting for? Yeah. Why are we waiting to show up? What are we truly waiting for? Why are you waiting to be, you know, don't wait to be excellent. Don't wait to to live an elite life, you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean like an elite being, you know, loads of money, living in bigger houses. Just like, you know, it's about just doing small things in a very great way.
Absolutely.
It's about showing up for me. Yeah, and I think if we show up, we'll naturally maybe leave our own legacy, whatever that is. We've all got a story to tell. And I'm not trying to leave a legacy.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to show up. And that is, if I'm ever going to be remembered for anything, I want to be remembered for he showed up and he was himself. And that's it.
And I think it's so important, like, to define what an elite life is. It's not just, you know, doing great things in the wider world.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people. I mean, I was chatting to one of my friends over in Dublin. His uncle passed away, and he was like, I've never seen so many people at a funeral in my entire life. And he was like, he was always there for the community and people, and he was always the energy in a room. And I think that's an elite life in and of itself, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think we've got to really understand that we have an ability to tap into this. I mean, my dad's probably going to listen to this, and he always used to say to me growing up, he's like, I'm not like you and your mum. Like, it's amazing what you do. And I'm like, but you are. Like, and that's the self-exclusion thing.
Absolutely.
Coming in. I'm like, I'm 50% of you.
Yeah.
Like,
I think modesty can get in the way sometimes as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do believe we have to be modest and humbled, but I think it's the small acts, really.
Absolutely.
It is the small things. Like I you know, there'll be an old lady, you know, who lives in Liverpool, you know, and who's probably never practiced like maybe spiritual concepts, you know what I mean? But she lives a life of truth. Do you know what I mean? She, you know, she's grounded in herself. She's present. She shows up. You know, she embodies that honesty. There's a level of integrity. You know, she's naturally kind, naturally cooperative, naturally gentle. You know what I mean? And that for me is a spiritual life.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And like, and I've met them. You know, and these are normal people doing extraordinary things. But we don't see extraordinary should be our normal default. I think we've just lost the capacity to connect. And that is through how we've been conditioned by the world. I think we've been domesticated over a long process. And we've got no connection to ourselves. We've got no connection to our innate wisdom, which is coming together. You know what I mean? Which is interacting. Yeah. You know, which is loveness. You know, it's togetherness. We have a desire to connect. We have an innate drive to be together. You know, we have this capacity to commune and to communicate, and we want to be open. We have a desire to be open, but we've also got to be vulnerable to be open, and we're fucking terrified of it. And unfortunately, in our society, vulnerability is seen as a weakness, or it's weaponized.
Absolutely.
And so we end up wearing masks and playing small and fitting in, and we become rigid in that way. And then no wonder we're longing to belong. We're longing for it. You know what I mean? We're yearning for it. We're starving for it.
And vulnerability is it's not just your, you know, it's not crying. It's not showing emotion. Vulnerability is explaining why you feel the way you feel, for me anyway. Yeah. So like if you're, you know, being vulnerable is like, I feel anxious because. Yeah. It's not.
Sharing
like,
yourself.
You're crying.
Yeah.
And it's being able to say, I'm upset because.
Yeah.
And it's being able to be there with that,
Absolutely.
with somebody else.
Yeah.
And be open to it.
It's
and also,
massive.
I think there are two parts. Like I think there's a piece of us that I think that's a burden to others.
Yeah.
And I think we'll hold back because we don't want to burden others with our problems.
Yeah.
Equally, I think there's a skill set that we're lacking in society to be able to hold the weight of that.
Absolutely.
I was having a conversation in the sauna last night. One of the lads just joined Total Fitness and he was like dead excited. He was like, how long am I supposed to be in here? He's like a guy in his 40s. It's like, I've been listening to Joe Rogan. He was like, and we're chatting about sweat lodges because he was like, I was in here 15 minutes. I was like, oh, have you ever heard of a sweat lodge? I was like, and everyone, like, their ears perked up, like, what's a sweat lodge? We're talking about it. The second I started saying it's a ritual, it's a sacred initiation.
You just tuned out.
Some of the young lads are like, what's that? What's that all about? I'm like, well, it's a Native American, you know, sacred initiation. What's initiation mean? I'm like, this is stuff that we had. Yeah. And there's, you know, we had sweat lodges in Europe,
absolutely,
in the UK.
Yeah,
it was a ritual that we had, and we've lost. That's what we've lost connection to.
Definitely,
our sacredness.
Yeah,
spirituality, and I think ultimately the language is the problem.
Absolutely, yeah,
the word.
Yeah,
DeMartini said at one of his events, he was like, "This man here employs hundreds of people. Is he spiritual?" And he'd framed it up in some way, and he didn't meditate, he didn't do this, he didn't do self-development.
Yeah.
Is he spiritual? And everyone's like, no. He was like, he leads 100 people and provides for their families.
Connected. Yeah, he's open. He's being vulnerable.
He cares about each and every
himself.
one of them. Yeah. He's like, that man is deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
But that's what we have. We have this connection of spirituality of like this.
Yeah. People are just, and it is, the word itself, even the word meditation, people just go, oh, not for me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not for me. That
I can't do that. I can't sit still. I can't. Yeah.
It's funny because the funny thing especially with meditation is that there's a misconception that it's, people try to clear the mind, and we have an intellect. We have a voice in the head which narrates the world all day, every day. And so that's not the enemy. So in meditation, we actually try to stop what is natural to us, which is to narrate the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We've got a voice in the head, and so thoughts are not the enemy. The voice is actually not the enemy. Some thoughts that we entertain can be, you know what I mean? And we can very much get lost in thoughts, in assumptions, and we tend to, a lot of people tend to worry themselves sick because they tend to go to the worst case scenario, you know what I mean? So a lot of people tend to project, predict, or rehearse a future, but it's based around fear, you know what I mean?
Control.
And so, coming back to the practice of meditation, it's like, I can't do that because I can't clear the mind. And it's like, well, firstly, let's actually change your perspective on the practice of meditation. Let's maybe say mental fitness. You know what I mean? Or even when you say spirituality, let's just say vibration or a vibe, because they'll resonate with that.
Or energy,
Energy, vibe, you know what I mean? Naturalness, or I even say presence. You know what I mean?
Would you like to be present with the people that you love?
There you go.
Would you like to put your phone out the way and be fully there and connected?
That's it.
Yes. Would you like somebody to do the same for you?
That's a spiritual experience.
Exactly.
Because you end up feeling something which you can't see, and it's not tangible, but you can only feel it. Do you know what I mean? It's like when people say, do you believe in God? And they go, no, but I believe in something. And then they say,
something other than me.
Yeah. And then they say, because I can feel it. So go after the feeling. You know what I mean? And that feeling, it's like Wi-Fi. You're actually, you can't tangibly access it, but it's there. It's just invisible. You know what I mean? And that's what like this feeling is. This is what a spiritual feeling is. It's a vibe. It's a connection that it's got no point to it. It's non-local. You know what I mean? And so when you try to put your finger on it, you can't. But it's there. Exactly. So it's almost undescribable, but it's undeniable. And when we actually start to tap, everyone in the world taps into this every day in some capacity or other.
Of course they do.
So when you have
intuition.
What is intuitive?
What is intuition?
Yeah. Like
when you get that gut feeling, what is that?
It's your natural wisdom. It's something, the body's talking to us just because, you've got the intellect, which is very much like an intellectual process of logic and the voice and the little commentator in the head, you know what I mean? Or we perceive it's in the head.
Where is the voice?
Yeah, where is it? It's a non-local phenomena. But then, you've got this intuitive knowing, that sort of pulls you towards what's right, you know what I mean? The heart actually makes decisions for you, but the head overrides it. Or the ego, our personality, our personal reality can override the experience because we always go towards something which we know, something which is certain, something which is safe, you know what I mean? So we do everything in our power all day, every day to validate what we know, you know what I mean? So we manipulate our life and the things around us just to validate the things that we know, do you know what I mean? And I've lost track there, but it's all good. And then, coming back to that sort of experience of intuition, it's like, I know something to be true, but I don't know what it is. And I'm just naturally being guided, you know what I mean? And that's our natural wisdom. It's like when you watch, the programs on the TV, especially them nature programs, you've got David Attenborough and he's narrating something and he's talking about like, I don't know, these flock of birds or whatever it is. And they've all gone from like this part of the planet and they go somewhere they've never been before and they go at the right time. It's a certain season. And you're like that, you're biting your fucking fingers and going, how do they know? Because they know it's their natural wisdom. They just know. There's a knowingness, you know what I mean? And a lot of the time we don't listen to our natural wisdom. We do because we're on it.
But we're just not aware.
We're not aware, you know what I mean? And then it overrides. So we live an egoic life, where we manage risk and we become very hyper vigilant and less trusting of the world. You know what I mean? So, and that is because our ego gets disrespected, or it gets hurt or betrayed, and so we end up becoming even more hyper vigilant over a period of time. And it's like, well, I don't trust no one, don't trust life.
Jacked up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tension then, because we're trying to control everything. So we become control freaks, and when something rubs up against the energy of uncertainty and something we can't control, we lose our shit. Do you know what I mean? And then that tends to be a projection of anger, or we actually start to try even harder.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Engineer things.
Yeah, to engineer things instead of just going, you know what? We've heard of that saying, it is as it is. Mm-hmm. But how often do we actually embody the isness of it? Let it be. You know, words of wisdom. You know what I mean? Let things be. And again, coming back to what we've spoken about before, when you let things be, you let things happen. You let things flow. You know what I mean? We all get triggered. I still get triggered. But it's managing the trigger. It's managing the mind, it's managing your thoughts, it's managing your emotions, and you can manage them by a way of observing them, by a way of capturing them. And then when you capture them, you actually, the same voice that's throwing a wobbler is the same voice that manages it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden you become the master of the mind. You know, you're managing your thoughts, and then you're concluding thoughts. This is a big one. Most people don't understand that you can conclude a thought by a way of managing it. Is the thought meaningful? Can I act upon it? Is it meaningless? Can I let it go? You know, and then you start to park thoughts as such. And then when you do that, it creates not just clarity, but you're also concluding and resolving thoughts. And that when you do that, you end up thoughtless.
Exactly. Yeah.
You end up
like,
just...
is this true? How do I know it to be true?
Exactly.
How do I know it to be absolutely true? Absolutely. You know, where's the evidence that this thought is even a reality?
We make assumptions, you know, most of the time. And, you know, it's something that I know Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about. You know, I think he talks about 70% of our psychological thoughts are spent as human, guessing, you know what I mean? And it's only because we're not flowing. Yeah, I think we do have to, predict our future. I think it is good to head in a direction, but do it with a loving detachment.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And if we detach from any outcome, life isn't then driven by destination. It's driven by the journey. It's a journey-driven life. It's, you know, and it's the great quote by John Lennon, life happens when you're busy making plans, and everything's always tomorrow. Tomorrow actually never arrives, because when you get into the perceived tomorrow, you're in the now. But then the ego overrides, going, "What's next for me?"
Well,
so you're always
life now, here, this moment, this second, this it.
Be here now. It's not even be here today.
Be where you're at.
Be here now. And when we do that, we ground into something we know. We ground into this knowing. We ground into something that's familiar. But we don't look, we're almost afraid, or the ego, our personality, our constructs are afraid to be here now, because it's timeless. And we always like to know where we're going. Mm-hmm. And we actually like to know where we've been. So we're reminiscing the good old days. It's not as good as it used to be. Or we're projecting. You know what I mean? And we literally bounce from...
Time travel.
We time travel all day, every day. So life is actually lived in the head, but we don't even use the mind and the intellect and these concepts of past and future to our advantage. We just become a slave to it.
Well, yeah, we can actually, through practice of meditation, we can go into our past and we can reframe how our past was.
Yeah.
We can look at it and be like, actually that, maybe it's different.
Yeah.
What can I extract from that? And then we can go to our future and we can cultivate whatever we want to cultivate in the future.
Yeah.
From the unknown.
And then when we actually place our attention in the present moment on the things that we potentially want to create in our future, then that is called manifestation. You end up creating what is it that you desire, because we're the creator as well. You know what I mean? I believe that there's almost a blueprint, a destined blueprint. But I also believe that we are given free will. We're given room to be flexible. We're given room to explore. And I think when we almost align them two together, there's a connection of the soul which just feels right. You're listening to that intuition, but you're also, from a healthy egoic identity, designing your life. You know what I mean? And there'll be an alignment then. There'll be an alignment, and it'll just feel like, wow, things are happening naturally, and the manifestation just happen. Do you know what? It's just effortless then. Things just happen easily, and you think, wow, that was actually really easy. Yeah. And you're getting out your own way, and you're going beyond your limitations.
It's
as
because
well.
You're present. That's why.
It.
Because when you're not present, you're trying to manage.
Yeah.
I try to manage everything in my life for so long. Clients and this and that, the other. But then you're actually just checking out of where you're at. You're
trying to be somewhere else apart from where you are.
Yeah. And so everything dissipates when you're where you're at.
Absolutely.
So whatever emotion you're feeling, just be with it.
Yeah.
Like, be there. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not going to move through it.
Yeah.
But acknowledge it. At my jiu-jitsu competition at the weekend, Matt was like, how do you feel? And I'm like, honestly, I'm like a little bit nervous. In the past, I would have been, I'm nervous, but I'm sound. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But that in itself is checking out of what I'm feeling.
Absolutely.
So I'm just acknowledging, I feel a bit nervous.
I'm feeling this. I'm okay with it.
I said, I feel a bit nervous. Do you mind if we go for a walk?
Yeah, nice.
Get out of this competition.
Nice.
Like,
lovely. And that's the beautiful thing about managing your life is, what is it that you're feeling and what is it that you need? Do you know what I mean? And when we actually, this is where meditation comes in, it's so handy because you're actually turning the gaze back on yourself. You're honouring your aliveness. And then you can stabilise it by honouring potentially what you need. I'm feeling a bit nervous. Can we go for a walk? I need a bit of nature. I'm feeling this. I need that. You know, and it is that simple, but it's no easy task. We have to practice it. This is a skill.
It's practice. That's why it's called a practice.
Yeah, this is a skill.
The nerves were all before I stepped on the mat. The second I stepped on the mat, I was present, locked in, present, dumb.
Yeah.
And that in itself was a realization for me. Like, okay, I didn't even warm up.
Yeah.
I was meant to be on after the match on the competition list. The two guys I was competing against were meant to be on first. And then all of a sudden my name comes on the screen. I'm like, I'm on the mat. So I didn't have time to process it. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And then and what's beautiful is that you know your ability. And then you just let go.
It's trust, yeah.
It's trust. All that stuff you've done on the jits mat, all them drills, them countless hours of training and going through them processes, is that when you actually let go, you're spontaneous, you're feeling, you're receptive, and you've totally checked in. And this is the beautiful thing about,
martial arts.
Yeah, martial art, anything, sports, is or life is when we learn how to tune in and be here. Like meditation's about learning how to come back here, how to reclaim awareness, how to reclaim your attention, because it just gets hijacked all day, every day. We tune out. And so people are sleepwalking through the days, you know what I mean? Literally. And if you're sleepwalking and you're not tuned in, then you're running a program. You're running a subconscious, habitual program which comes from your past. And so it's just same shit, another day. You know what I mean? And then you're called to presence, but it only tends to be when you're triggered. And that trigger tends to be when someone's looked at you sideways, or there's a red light, or you're stuck in traffic, or you're stuck in a queue. Or it could be the sunrise, or the sunset, or a child, smiling, and you know what I mean? Or a butterfly. That tunes you into the present moment. But we're waiting for these things to be present, when actually it can be an inside job. Awareness is our responsibility. And when we take ownership, and when we know this to be true, it's an inside job. Next minute, you reclaim attention yourself. It starts there and ends there. You push that domino, and we know what happens when we push dominoes. There's a feeling of just, things just fit into place. You know what I mean? Things just fit into place. And it's what I absolutely have such a deep desire to educate people on, is presence, and how to reclaim the attention through some simple active practices, first and foremost meditation or mental fitness.
The way in which we see presence today is like, I'm present because my phone's out the way.
Yeah.
But that's still not presence. Presence is your energy, it's your depth, it's your sensitivity, it's your awareness, it's your connection to that other person and being there for them. And I think my meditation journey's been a long time with you and other practices, but I think for the last, when we met like maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And then the Joe Dispenza stuff is that there's just like the presence that I experience every day now is a calm presence. Yeah. And I can describe it as a trust. Yeah. A knowingness. A belief.
That's right.
An inevitability.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in that place, like anxieties just dissipate and they disappear, and worry and doubt and fear. Yeah. It goes because you're in the present moment. Most anxieties, fears, worries, and doubts are either living out of alignment. Yeah. They're not being tuned into what you value. Yeah. It's avoiding your own needs. Yeah. And then equally, it's time travel. Yeah, yeah. It's believing in a past or trying to fear a future. Yeah, and it's all that what you're saying. And when we actually just take a look at this stuff,
and we anchor this sense of presence. It's incredible because the presence itself, the qualities of it, is peaceful. When we investigate awareness, which is an aware presence, when we investigate it, it feels an extension of the investigation is that it is calm, because awareness is calming. It's unconditional, it's unbroken, it's unbiased, and it's unchanging. So there's a neutrality to it, and within that calmness, there's a peacefulness to it. And when we learn how to rest in that peace, but it's about resting in the peace while being alive. That's the game here. It's about, learning how to be this sense of self, you know what I mean? It's about grounding into what you already are and accessing that charge. Everyone's already connected, but because we're so invested in the mind, or we're so invested in our egoic constructs, then we swim away from our nature, you know what I mean? And so this sense of, peacefulness and calmness and almost inner knowing, and there's a contentment there. It's almost like, wow, I'm happy to be here. I feel content. There's nowhere else to go. I'm happy for no reason. That's the golden nugget.
Happy for no apparent reason.
Happy for no reason. I'm feeling good for the only reason that I'm feeling good is because I'm grounded in myself. Yeah. And this is anchored again in certain practices. It doesn't have to be meditation. Other practices, anchored, this sense of self. Nature's our greatest mirror. Nature's a great practice. Grounding, getting your feet on the earth, being in nature, setting some boundaries with your phone. I like the cold water. Cold water brings you to presence, and having some simple routines that can anchor this sense of self. And as an extension, you feel good, you feel peaceful, you're resting in the peace. There's a loveness there. You're actually resting within love. You're being in love again for no reason. Then you're attractive now because you're now actually in the center of abundance.
And magnetic.
You're magnetic. You are. We talk about the universe or the divine matrix. It's got many names: God, Brahma, Krishna, whatever. We'll just call it awareness. And it's a vibe, it's a vibration. This universe, this one verse, song, one vibration. It's an attractive experience. So you're already abundant. We wait to feel abundance when we feel abundant when we get paid. People wait to get paid to feel abundant.
Wait for the experience to feel the
feeling. You're already abundant because you get paid and then you're feeling what already was there. But we were so clouded by our judgments, and we were clouded by our own perceptions of the world, and clouded by our own projections and predictions, and by our own mental constructs, is that we almost miss it. It's so obvious actually, and that's why we miss it, because it's so simple, it's so obvious, and a lot of that simplicity, or a lot of the divinity that we're looking for, is in this simple beingness. And when we truly ground into what is, and we access the fullness of what we are, which can be anchored through some simple practices, then we start to remember, and then it starts to stretch, and it starts to arrive spontaneously, and you're almost like, wow. And it actually becomes, again, you relearn your normal default. This is our natural default. Watch a child.
Yep.
Children are just being spontaneous. They're just present. They're totally in
living,
they're living. They're just totally in it. And we've become so invested in time and success, you know what I mean, is that we go out there and we fill our lives with stuff, and so we end up collecting things.
We're just like locked in on the material world in every sense.
Locked in. And I think, we are in the material world, but I think don't get lost in it. And that's what happens. We get very much lost in the matrix, and through, advertising and marketing, all these companies are capturing your attention. And they know what they're doing. They know the power of psychology. And so our attention, our awareness is hijacked by something externally.
People, places, objects, environment.
All that. Come over here. Let's get your attention. In fact, we're going to give you a great deal. Or come and buy the stuff you don't need. Or come and upgrade yourself with all this stuff, this glitz and glam. And that's okay. Living a material life, you know what I mean?
I love the material life, but equally, at some point in your... It's empty.
I think we've got a feast on the world, but not from a place of lack.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's about coming home, which is an inside job, grounding back into what you are, relearning your nature. And all of a sudden, you're not reaching into the world from a place of scarcity to fill the hole, because you realize you're already full. And so it becomes a win-win, because you know who you are, but then you know what direction you like to go in. So you plan your life, you design your life, you schedule the priorities, you create order, you create your enterprise. And so what that does is you know who you are, and then you're feasting on the world, but not from a place of unholiness, not from a place of fear.
Lack,
you're
doubt.
just feasting on the world because you can, and it becomes a different feast.
Well, we all want a feeling anyway. We want to feel.
Absolutely.
We want to feel something, and we assume that having the house, the car, the clothes, the holidays will give us the feeling that we want.
Yeah. And it does for a minute, Chris.
Absolutely, it does. Of course, it does.
It does for a minute.
Yeah.
But then almost what overrides it is
We're waiting for the next experience to have
next? What's
the
next
feeling?
for me? I need more. You know what I mean? And we just feel like we need more. Actually, we need less. And if we can shave off this stuff, and less is more, and when we keep things simple and we come back to our nature, it's something we've always known. And then the penny drops and you're like, and what happens is the ego overrides it, because the ego can go, well, the same ego that goes, wow, I'm loving this now, is the same ego that goes, nah, this is too simple. Do you know what I mean? So but it's important we make the ego and our constructs our friend.
Well, Joe Dispenza said you've got to keep one foot firmly in the material world, and one foot in the quantum.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I believe in that.
He said, it was really funny. He was like, you think you can meditate all day on your couch and make millions of dollars? It's like, I got news for you. You're not that good.
Well, you know what? He's obviously had his lived experience, and he understands that we are in this world. We are in this material body. Do you know what I mean? We are in this place of form. We're in the 3D. And another thing with meditation, people are trying to check out. And I'm trying to tune out.
Sleep,
and go and play in. They're trying to go places in the meditation, when really it's about checking in. It's about coming here. And when we almost wake up in the matrix as such, you take a look at the life you've adopted and you go, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm living somebody else's life. Or I'm being driven by fear. I'm being driven by what I perceive to be success. And it's almost the same picture, which is painted for everyone, and everyone falls for the hook, line and sinker. You know what I mean? And when you go, hang on a minute, okay, I've subordinated to potentially a culture that isn't mine. I mean, when we come out of the womb, especially if you live in Liverpool, for example, straight away people are going to go...
Red or blue?
Red, blue,
yeah.
Catholic, he's this, he's that. And all of a sudden, people are projecting a narrative onto you. You know what I mean? And you've only been here 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And then we're given a name, and then we're trying to uphold this identity, and that's what we do all day, every day. We try to prove, protect, or promote our identity. We do all three at the same time.
Conditioned towards a career or
and that's okay.
A job or
we have to live in the matrix. You know what I mean? But when we wake up in it, we think, okay, I'm in the game now. I'm not being played. I'm now in the game. Let me play it. And so you have to play the game well, and it changes the game. You know what I mean?
Curiosity, isn't it?
Well, we've stopped being curious.
Yeah.
We've stopped adventuring. You know what I mean? You watch a child, they're just bewildered by life. They're just in for it. They're just so curious, so adventurous. And as we get adults, we lose the capacity to adventure. We become nosy.
Mason was in mine the other day, and I was like, come on, son, we're going. He was like there in the middle of the living room, and he jumped on the couch, ran all the way across, and jumped off the end. I was like, why do you run across the couch? It's like, it's more fun, isn't it? And that was it.
That's it.
I was like,
we forgot about fun.
Fair comment.
Or we're waiting for Friday to have fun. You know, when people are like in jail all week, you know what I mean? And they get to Friday and like, boy, it's my time now, you know what I mean? And I think life can be too polarized for people. And, it's a big question I always consider, not just for my own life, but for the people I'm coaching is, are you having fun? Are you enjoying these processes? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't wait to be on holiday to have fun. Don't wait to get paid to feel abundance. Don't wait for the lover to arrive to be in love. Like, all this stuff. And when we construct our life, and when we wake up in the matrix and we change the game, it's almost like, right, okay, time to get serious. But you add that playing, you become more play. We have a desire for innocence. When we come home to ourselves, we become more innocent again. And with that innocence is an extension of just enthusiasm, play, sensuality, vibrancy, intuition, connection, relaxed. We're relaxed. And when we're relaxed, we're actually in a different part of the brain. We're not forcing life.
Like this all the time.
We're not in the amygdala. We're in foresight. We're in the genius. We're in the executive senses. We're open to receiving. We're having fun. And you're like, wow, this is easy. And when you get a taste of this, you actually start to reprogram the default you've been in, the default of stress. Stress is normalized, becomes normalized. So that default of stress, anxiety, desperation, despair, anger, frustration, confusion. This is not people's normal.
Reinforcing it with language as well. You speak to people in the business owners, I'm up the wall.
I'm up the wall.
Yeah,
I haven't got enough time.
I'm too busy.
All that. You know
Stacked,
what I mean?
I'm chocker.
Yeah, I'm fucking, and it's not, it doesn't have to be this way.
No.
It really doesn't have to be this way. You know what I mean? It's people go, it's not my day today. You know what I mean? In fact, it's not my week. In fact, it's not my year. It's been a terrible year for me. And you're just like, I'm not denying your circumstances and situations. We're throwing curveballs all day, every day, but the curveballs are yours. And you got to learn how to, it builds resilience.
Can you find the nuggets in it? Can you find the gems?
The blessings in these skies, Chris. There's blessings everywhere, do you know what I mean? And when we actually see them as blessings, see them as lessons, we start to not welcome the curveballs, but we start to change our narrative and our perspective around what's actually happened. Life isn't happening to us.
It's a time to tool up, skill
up. It's happening for us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And, the greater level of intelligence, that's at play, the great mystery, the holy created awareness, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever name you want to give it, vibration. It's working for us. It's working as us as well. You know what I mean? And then when, the ego is so, driven by, it's just always me. Why is it always happening to me? And you can almost then bring these same, or it's actually not, you're bringing the same lessons towards you to learn, which is, I believe is true. But it's the way you see life. We're only seeing life from that perspective. So if you're playing, if you're in a victim mentality, you're going to see it. You know what I mean? You're not going to see opportunity. You're naturally pessimistic. You're not optimistic. Your cup's half empty. In fact, your cup's empty. Do you know what I mean?
Got nothing to give.
There's got nothing to give. There's no fullness. And so, when you change your belief systems, when you change the way you perceive the world, the way you see the world changes. And it can be instant.
I used to be hyper defensive.
But you've got to reinforce it.
Hyper defensive in every way, because I didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
I had a desire to win in every area of my life, even when I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'd fight my way out of things, and I'd defend my way.
You'll do everything to prove your claim.
And prove and the reality is that it was only ever keeping me from being happy. And
absolutely.
Actually it was checking me out of responsibility too. Yeah. And going, okay, where am I responsible?
It takes great courage to own it and to potentially be wrong, or to potentially see other points of view. Because that's what happens. We only see life from a point of view. It's called our worldview. So we become so focused on a narrative, on a paradigm, and that's okay. But when we notice that these paradigms actually are our own perspectives, and actually we can change these goalposts a little bit, and see life from a different perspective, and let go of trying to prove everybody else wrong. You know what I mean? And trying to promote that you're always right.
And say, I know for a fact. I know for a fact.
Just like that. Like
so much energy to uphold.
And you're in the center of competition. And within that, you're just comparing all day, every day, that you're right and somebody else is wrong. And you go out your way then to prove others wrong.
Scarcity way of living, because you feel like there's not enough.
Yeah.
So you have to have it because there's not enough
when
for
you
everyone.
drop it, Chris, you never have to compete anymore, because really you're just competing against yourself. You're in your own way again. You know what I mean? And it comes back to that one, when you capture yourself that you're in your own way and that life's not in the way. It's happening. Life's on the way. It's just unfolding. There's a blossoming to it. And when if the penny drops for you and you just, things change, it can be instant change.
Fraction.
It's instant. And you feel like nothing changes, but everything changes. And then you just reinforce that, you know what I mean? This new state of being, which can be a state of becoming. So and you've also got to be prepared to let go of that old identity. That's a big one. People aren't prepared to own their own shit, take responsibility and accountability, or they're not prepared to let go of a narrative. Do you know what I mean? Or a paradigm. And so, and so you've got to be prepared to shed skin. You can watch the animal kingdom, shedding skin. It's letting go. Do you know what I mean? We don't. We hold on for dear fucking life.
It comes back to being afraid of what might be as well.
Well, it's uncertainty.
Yeah. You'd rather take what you know to be true based on where you're at than take the risk of it being something.
Yeah, most people aren't excited for the future. You know what I mean? They're afraid of it. You know, they're terrified
of it. Clinging
yeah.
onto the relationship.
They're not actually afraid of the future. They're afraid of the thought.
Yeah.
And it's just a thought. You know what I mean? And when if you can change the narrative to being excited for the unknown, you know what I mean? Then you naturally start to adventure. Like, listen, still mitigate a strategy, still, you know, manage risk. Do you know what I mean? What's the worst case scenario? Okay, Sam, but make peace with it. You know what I mean? And then you can just go, okay, well, what's the best case scenario? You know what I mean? And go to the best case scenario. But what's important is don't be attached to each one. I like the term of like making peace with the worst. Expect the best, but don't be attached to any outcome. Yeah. And along the way, just do your best. Just show up and be spontaneous and receptive.
That was one of the biggest things that I learned through your teachings was like the love and detachment.
Oh, it's massive.
So to be in a place of love but detached.
Yeah, don't get attached to the outcome. Because if we're attached to the outcome, life driven by the destination, we step in the realm of time.
And then, yeah.
It's a linear experience, and that's okay. We like to know where we're going. We like to know where we've been. But if we can come at life with a healthy, affectionate, compassionate, loving non-attachment or detachment, next minute you're like, okay, great. I've mitigated the strategy.
You surrendering the possibility.
That's the one.
Because when you're trying to control, you've got a very narrow focus of potential.
You're in pure potentiality.
That's the one.
Pure potentiality. Anything's, you know, truly open and possible for you. Do you know what I mean? And
it's bewilderment, curiosity.
And it's all this stuff that only a child knows: wonderment, fascination, openness, the beginner's mind, connectedness, vibrancy, enthusiasm. You know, it's and like
children are our greatest teachers in many ways. Like the way in which they're so curious about stuff is unreal. Like the way the little conversations that I have with Mason, he's like, "What? And why is that? Why does that happen? How does that work?
Yeah,
what's that?
Yeah."
And we lose that. We become know-it-alls.
Fixed. Yeah, absolutely. Fixed. You know, stoic, you know, and within that stoicism, life gets a bit serious. You know what I mean? I believe we've got to be serious. In fact, I believe we've got to be fucking really serious. But the more serious we become about our life and how we plan it, the playfulness just comes in. You don't have to be playful or serious. You can actually be both at the same time. And
you can fluidly move between both.
They coexist. They coexist. And that is a magic formula. Do you know what I mean? You know, I'm very serious, you know, how I navigate my life. But there's just so much openness and playfulness. Like I am so playful. Like, you know, people who know me, like, and people who hang around with me, like, I'm always just, you know, not just cracking jokes, but I'm always being myself. But within that, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of softness. You know, there's a lot of connection. And I love how I operate my world. Do you know what I mean?
I'd lost that for a long time.
Yeah, we do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Through just pure, I call it masculine drive, if you want, just pure drive to succeed and to win and to dominate and to...
Yeah.
Even the language, my palette of vocabulary is expanded drastically.
Yeah.
So words like bewilderment, wonderment, curiosity...
It connects to the nervous
flow,
system. Yeah.
Surrender.
Yeah.
They're all words that I would never adopt before or associate with.
But you're embodying them now as well, aren't you? There's a resonance to you. Because sometimes the words are just words intellectually, but really they become a feeling. They become an embodiment. They become a happening, you know? And these become natural happenings, natural byproducts of all the stuff we've been talking about.
Especially in business, it's like crush it, like win,
smash it.
Yeah, smash it, yeah.
Hustle. You know what I mean?
Grind.
Fucking harder, go all in. And it's like, you know.
You can't worry your way through every little circumstance and situation in your life. Like, at times it requires you to be like, yeah, this fucking really sucks.
But the big question is, what hurts. For? When you come back to it, what am I hustling for? What am I trying to prove? Who am I trying to prove it to? Am I trying to prove it to myself? Am I trying to prove it to my parents? You know what I mean? To society, that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy. And then, within all this, no matter what your successes are, in the external world, we come back to this innate knowing, like this innate almost question, for who am I? You know what I mean? And we have just this deep desire. We have a wish for simplicity. You know what I mean? And it's when we have them sweet moments of presence, but daily, and as a stretched experience, that you just embody this simple magic, and you experience everything you've ever wished for. Do you know what I mean? Everything that you're striving for on the outside, success. You just go. For me, success is presence. You know what I mean? Like rewrite success. For me, you've fulfilled everything by just being here. It's successful by just being here, being present with what's in front of you.
The hustle, grit, and grind. It really is required at times.
Absolutely, you've got to get after it at times.
Build it. It's where it comes from. For me, is that important piece.
Yeah.
And I think for me, for a long time, it was driven from like a scarcity. Like I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
There's not enough time. There's not enough time. There's not enough time.
Yeah.
I've got too much to do.
Yeah.
And I was constantly pushing because there was never enough time. But that's scarcity. And yeah, we don't know when we're going to die. We don't know what day is our day. Yet we have way more time than we ever could imagine.
Yes.
There's plenty of time to do what we've got to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I remember approaching 30s, I'd have to have this business target. My life had to be like this, and this situation had to be like that. And then as I'm moving into my early 30s, I'm feeling like pressure of, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Then like 2 years ago when Danielle and I originally separated, it just fucking took everything and shook it in a big container.
Yeah.
Just like, whoa, what the fuck? I know nothing.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've got some friends through level 4, some of the young lads that are like in their mid-20s, and they're talking to me in the same way that I could see myself back then. I'm like, dude, you've got time. Like, you're good. Like, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy starting again at 36. I'm happy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy. I'm retraining right now in some areas. I haven't really spoke about it openly, but I'm just leaning into things that excite me, that liberate me, that light me up. And I'm like, okay, like, we've got time. Yeah. Like an abundance of time. Yeah. When we're present, time stands still.
Yeah, absolutely. It's timeless. And within that, there's just natural exploration then, and you're just having fun in these processes, you know what I mean? And letting go of old identities, letting go of things and exploring new things and trying new things. And it's, the world's your oyster as such, you know what I mean? And I think, the sort of hustle, the grind, it's almost like you're trying to become successful, you know what I mean? In the eyes of whom? And again, what is it that you're trying to prove? And the slog is just a push into pain. And the push into pain is necessary now and then. But I think if we push too hard, we become sick.
Yeah, always that way.
Yeah, we become sick. And then we're not operating from a state of naturalness, from a state of excellence, and people, think life's rough. It's all about suffering. It's all about pain. No, it's not. It can be easy. You know what I mean? You can celebrate. You can have fun.
Yeah, you can have success and fun
all
on the
that
journey,
and more.
Yeah,
all that and more. And anyone listening to this, like, I trust like people are being inspired by this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like these conversations I've been having for many years, and I was seeking these conversations out. I was asking the big questions out. I wanted to know what's all this about. Why do people behave the way they do? I was fascinated by the human experience and what it means to be, what it means to be in your spirit, what it means to be alive, what is spirituality, what is God, all this kind of stuff, and the very investigation has brought about a lot of revelation, you know what I mean? And then within that revelation, I've been able to clean up my own stuff. I've been able to show up. I've been able to let go. I've been able to access. I've been able to be open. And within that, there's also then the whole journey of communicating that with others, and learning how to communicate better You know what I mean? And because I don't just want this to be my experience. I want this to be a feeling of us and we and the thing and the people that I do hold dear to me in my own culture. You know, sort of my inner circle. I want to, you know, communicate. You know, not just from a place of cleanliness, but from a place of togetherness and
you become
connection.
the teaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the teacher.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that when you embody everything that you do, people start to pay attention. Like there is something in this.
There's something in this.
There's got to be. And
I've
been open journaling about my meditation every day on Facebook for the last 6 weeks. And I'm getting 3-4 messages a day from people like, listen, what is this meditation
What
thing?
is this? There's
you're glowing.
Something in it. Yeah.
Like they say, you're glowing. I can see it. I can see change in your eyes and I can see change in your face. And like,
you know what, Chris, like I remember for many years, I was sort of in the sweet shot, you could say, you know what I mean? And I was exploring, you know, a lot of different concepts, you know, from all walks of life. And I think when I really started to explore mindfulness and meditation, which is an ancient soul practice, and I started to really resonate with the simplicity of it, I thought, this is it, you know. This is really it. And, you know, and back then, you know, 2010, 2011, you know, 2012, and then beyond that, you know, I was going to like 10-day silent retreats, or I was like, you know, I was going to, you know, do teacher training and meditation. And I think a lot of people around me just thought, he's gone mad. He's finished. You know what I mean? There was people who were celebrating it, but people didn't get it. You know what I mean? And it was quite radical, some of the things I was checking in with. And I think now more than ever, what I'm really loving is actually watching people show up and shine. And I think now more than ever, there's like a lot of people who are invested in meditation now. You know, they're not just coming and doing a mindfulness course and leaving. They're coming and they're investing in themselves. That, you know, people are leveling up left, right, and centre. You know. Like I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing it in hordes, you know what I mean? And everyone's paying attention. And it's because we become a natural demonstration, you know what I mean? You know, people are going, why, he's flying him. These people are flying, these people are happy, these people are in flow. Like, and everybody wants that, you know what I mean? Everybody wants it. And you'll still get the, you know, the naysayers going, look at this plant pot. Look at this divvy, you know what I mean? Look at these plant, you know, divvies, you know, meditating, whatever. It's not for me. But underneath that, they want what we're feeling and what we're experiencing.
It's a strong mirror for them.
It's the best mirror, because you can't deny the mirror. You can't deny, you know, the demonstration, the advert. We're just advertising it. You know what I mean? I'm just advertising being myself. I'm advertising naturalness, you know? And so I'm so pleased. You know, I think I had such a strong intent many years ago to teach Liverpool how to meditate. It was like, I'm going to teach this city how to meditate, because nobody is, you know what I mean? And I'm going to get fucking shamed for it. People are going to point fingers at me, and people are going to try and bring me down. But there's actually only a small minority, and the rest of the people have been receptive.
Do you know what though? Like
being open.
You can see that unfolding now.
You can see it.
And even just through the time that we've met together, and I just think, I'm not sure whether every city in the country is unfolding like Liverpool is.
Yeah.
We've got some amazing people doing amazing things
absolutely,
in the city.
Absolutely.
And some people really committed to their own work.
They're committed. You know, you've got, you know, so many people just like showing up. You know what I mean? Each and every day. And now obviously we've got the platform of social media, and then And so you're able to like express yourself and get your message across. You know what I mean? It's a great platform for expression, and that's what I use, you know, Instagram for, is to express. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's to express, and through that expression, I know I'm going to capture someone's attention. I know I'm going to say something or do something that's going to inspire someone to come back to their own greatness, to come back to their own nature, and I'm loving it. Like, you know, it's not just me. You know, like, at this stuff, there's now hundreds of people across the city absolutely in it, thriving. And I think it's become a snowball effect now. You know what I mean? It's become a snowball effect.
It's even the practice of the people that are, you know,
that's exactly
people
what
who have
it is.
been studying with you, they're practicing, and their friends are seeing it.
That's it.
The people around them are seeing the changes in them. Like,
and that's why people come in my direction. In the end, they go, I ask at the start of a level 1, why are you here? Or what got you here? How did you get here? And most of the time, it was through my friend. My friend's been here, and they're flying. You know what I mean?
And I want a bit of
and
that.
I want to taste. I want what they're experiencing. You know what I mean? And it's like, and the job's being done now because they've invested, and there's been a personal will. They've made a decision, an intent to be in my company. So they've paid to be in my company. The rest is history. Because I'm not, when they're in my company, especially when I'm sharing my gifts, I'm actually sharing myself. It's not what I do, it's who I am. And then it's just job done because it flows out of me. And then within that, I'm sharing universal concepts. I'm putting it in Scouse terms, and I'm dressing it up that inspires people. I'm delivering it in a way where I'm fucking sparking people's potential. You know, I'm speaking to people. But what I'm doing is I'm sharing universal concepts so that the concepts speak for themselves. I take people to the practice. The practice is the real teacher. You know what I mean? And when we anchor a practice each and every day, when we're kept up by the practice, or when we keep up the practice, we're kept up by the practice. And I say it's probably one of my most powerful mantras. The power is in the practice. But you become the practice. You know what I mean? It's not just like on practice meditation now. It becomes a lived experience. So life, your 18 hours, waking moments, there's a level of presence. That's what meditation is. It's presence. It's being present with.
And when you train yourself to do it with your eyes closed, you actually bring it into your eye-open world.
That's the game. And I always say at the end of a practice, come back to your senses, because that's all we're doing. We're just withdrawing the senses. We're reclaiming our attention.
Yeah, we're just taking our attention off the material world.
Away from this for a minute. You know what I mean? You're just creating space from the distraction. You become one-pointed. You'd actually reclaim your attention. So it's like mental fitness. And all of a sudden, the body knows what it's doing, because it's always trying to find homeostasis, but we don't give it an opportunity to do what it does best, which is rest in its nature. So meditation is a practice of nurturing your nature. And when we nurture our nature and we get direct experience, when we come back to the senses, you feel the benefits. You get all the hallmarks the practice has to offer and more. You know what I mean? And that, because other people get that. Because you enthuse the world now. You actually cause that effect.
You're nourishing. Hydrating the world.
It's a game. You're hydrating the world. You're not dehydrating the world. You know what I mean? And it becomes a ripple. It's like a ripple effect. And all you're doing is being yourself. That's the golden nugget here. You're relearning how to truly be yourself. And from that place, people then, you're the advertisement. You know what I mean? It's great because people advertise Martin Bowl meditation. You know what I mean? You know, which is fantastic because but it goes hand in hand with the things I value. I value teaching. I value sharing myself. I value celebrating life. So it becomes a win-win. You know, it becomes a win-win, and I absolutely love it. I love it, and I keep showing up. I've never missed a class. I'm never late. I'm just keep at it. You know, because it's what I absolutely love.
Love it. Thank you so much.
That
brings us to the point of the end. And on that note, for anybody watching this who would like to lean into your work, what have you got available? So
I've actually just released a new platform called The Alliance, and it's a conscious membership. It's subscription based, and you know, I've sort of come away from Apple, and I've come away from the sort of Scouse guru. And that was just an alias at the time, and
it was required at the time.
It was required. It was absolutely required. But there's a library of meditation, information, tutorials, podcasts that I've recorded over a long period of time. That was on the app, and now I've put it into a platform called Creating Space. But I've partnered up with Planet Yoga, and so they've got also a massive platform called Planet on Demand. So there's about 250 videos and tutorials and recordings on all these matters related. So a lot of guided meditations as well. And I've just released this platform, but I've made it a lot more interactive. So we're doing a live meditation every Friday morning on Zoom, because people struggle to hold themselves accountable. So I'm doing a live practice every Friday morning on Zoom at 6:30 in the morning. And people love getting into nature. People love connecting. So I've come up with this idea of just getting in nature once a month, somewhere in the Northwest. And then there's all these other offerings. I've brought on board a lot of local businesses.
Where would you URL?
Sorry?
What's the URL for that, by the way?
The what, sorry?
Creating Space.
The URL. What do you mean?
The website.
martinbowmeditation.com.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you go to the website, it's on there. And then there's a lot of other offerings, like I've partnered with Flow Planet, Fuel Station, Feel Supreme, High Vibe Nutrition, Planet Yoga, Martin Bowl Meditation. So being a member, you'd actually get a discount on all these offerings as well. And I wanted to make it so good that it was almost like, wow, why wouldn't I want to be a part of this? You know what I mean? And so I'm about to, in fact, it's released, it's out, it's ready to go. So that's something I'm really inspired to hold space for. But for people starting on the journey, the level 1, start on the level 1. It's my flagship course. It's a game changer. And then it naturally takes you into, if you decide to, keep discovering and keep blossoming and deepening, all these masters related. There's an ecosystem, so that it leads on to a level 2, a level 3, and then I've got a level 4, which is a 3-month mentorship program. So there's a lot in there, you know what I mean? There's a lot in there, and it's all effortless, and I love what I do. And I'm on Instagram as well, which is Martin Bow Meditation, and I love it. I feel so alive. I feel so aligned on purpose, and just getting going. This is just the beginning, you know what I mean? This is a life of love and a sustained life of excellence. And I get such the best part of my job is witnessing people. And really watching people grow and develop into their best selves, and I truly, it warms me each and every time to, to just witness people change. Change is difficult as well. Yeah, it's not always easy for people. No, you know what I mean?
It's difficult.
And I always say now, I'm not responsible for your change. What happens in your life is not my responsibility. I just take people to universal, teachings and let them work it out themselves as well. So,
well, my life is certainly better for having you in it.
And likewise, sure. My life is certainly better having you in it, brother. So thank you for today.
Thank you.
It's a riveting conversation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we've been in flow, weren't we?
Yeah.
Let's go for
coffee.
Could have went
for 3 hours.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my man.
Love you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.